Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at the overview of the main cockpit cabin panels for the Jaguar E-Type 2+2. So specifically this actual kit is coming from a Series 2+2, but the general overview is going to be applicable for Series 1s up till Series 2s. The only sort of main difference, which I will explain in more detail at the time, are the door panels. The overall shape of them is exactly the same, but it's all related to the slot cutout there, and then also the armrests that go with the different series has changed, so just bear that in mind. But overall, it's a decent guide for the Series 1s to the Series 2s. For Series 3 cars, if you happen to have one, we do have a separate video showcasing those parts there, so refer to that one because there are a few subtle differences on the Series 3s. This particular kit is mainly focused on the sort of left and right side panel areas of the main cockpit cabin area. So we're not really focusing much on the sort of rear luggage, rear door area of the car. There are a couple of pieces at the back here that do kind of cross over into that area, but I am going to do a separate video showcasing those other bits. So do be sure to check that one out. We're also not really focusing anything on the dash or the headliner or the seats or center console area, or of course the carpets. They'll all have their own separate videos, so be sure to check those out. This specific kit has been done in dark blue, and we've done it to factory spec, so the majority of the pieces in this video are vinyl. There are a couple of other pieces which I will go over as we get to them, and all of these pieces pretty much in this video are included as standard in our trim kit, apart from a few optional extras, which is kind of upgrade pieces, i.e. do you need just covers to recover your original hinge and locks? Do you need replacement hinge and lock panels, or do you want us to actually trim up replacement hinge and locks with the vinyl top stitch covers? Same with the sort of door tops, materials versus retrim kits. Material retrim kits versus new hardware pieces versus us fully trimming them up either on new hardware or your original units if you send them to us, etc, etc. So a few options there which I will go over, but for the most part, the majority of the parts in this video are included as standard in the trim kit, but I will mention as I get to them the optional extras which you may want to consider at the same time. I've also included a couple of different colours to showcase the different various upgrade options that you can get, i.e. the trimmed versions, original cappings, etc, etc. So I'll get to those elements towards the end of the video there. So if we start at the front, I'll just make my way there. As I mentioned, all of this pretty much is included in the trim kit. We do sell the items individually though, but when we sell items individually, we sell them in car sets. So for example, the door panels are sold as a pair, the inner sills as a pair, etc, etc. Basically enough to do one car set. So you can buy them individually, but it does work out significantly cheaper if you do buy the items as a trim kit, so bear that in mind. If I start at the very front of the car, we'll start down in the sort of footwell areas. So kickboards or kick panels, as some people refer to them, they're the parts to the left and the right of the footwells on the outside of the car, directly in front of the doors. And if you look here, we've got the right hand A-post kick panel. It's millboard, pre-cut on our in-house CNC, and then creased there to allow that bend. That cutaway there is obviously for where the bonnet release goes. Trimmed all the way around. Apart from on the bottom edge, we deliberately leave that flap on there because it means you get a nice cohesive finish when you're fitting it in the car, because that will tuck underneath the adjacent felt and carpets in the front floors, etc. But that obviously bends up there. That's the sill section. Doubt we're really going to see exactly where we need to. You can just about make it out. There you are. So that's the left hand. You can see the bonnet release there. Now it's worth noting that the 2+2s, the panel was completely different to say the two-seater Roadster and the two-seater fixed head, which were Hardura. The shape was roughly the same, but for the 2+2s, they were a trimmed panel instead of just Hardura material, so bear that in mind. So they're obviously sold as a pair or included in the trim kit as standard. Also, while we're down in the footwell area, we've got the wiring loom cover. Now, the 2+2s, they used a black plastic material. Now, these are often broken or missing from the car. We can supply the item as a black plastic unit. A lot of people do keep it black. Some people prefer to have it trimmed up in the same colour as their main trim. As standard in the trim kit, we supply a retrim kit, so material to recover your original moulded unit. But in addition to that, as an optional extra, we can either supply you with a moulded unit as well, or for slightly more, we can completely trim it up as we've done with this. This is actually a leather one here that we've trimmed up, ready for a full leather kit that we're doing for a gentleman. So they're the options there, but as standard, retrim kit in the trim kit, optional extras for either untrimmed black or trimmed colour there, so bear that in mind. That wiring loom tended to be located bottom left footwell sort of area along here, along the A post area. So that's that piece. All right, let's get to the door panels. Now the door panels, we'll actually talk just about the main door panel to start with. So sold as a pair, they're hardboard panels, 2.55mm hardboard, and their hardboard is marine and automotive suitable hardboard, but made by a company that has been making this particular material for over 100 years, that we specially import. So we're not using 3mm hardboard like a lot of other suppliers out there do, which is very easy to attain down most local DIY stores. We specifically import 2.55mm, and that really does come into its own when you come to fit the parts. So bear that in mind. And we're definitely not using ply for these, which again, some other people do. Do not do that. They're all pre-cut on our in-house CNC machine, so they all have the relevant pilot fixing holes and whatnot. Now I'll put that on there just for display. That is sold separately, but I'll come to that. It's worth noting a few things. So obviously you have the main fixing holes, which you have these clips here. Now these clips, we sell a trim panel fixing kit for the E-Type, so that is sold separately. You get a load of these in there which do the majority of the panels in the car there. They obviously slot in there and they can rotate 360 round. Then you get a load of these U-clips as well, which is used along here to attach the chrome work. So on the majority of the cars, series 2s anyway, they had this chrome work going along, and then they had the element there for the door release mechanism. So this is what this cutout here is for. And then we can also supply you with the black plastic pieces, which I'll come to in a second. But going back to the door panel, all pilot holes are done for the fixings and for the chromes, etc. Also for the armrests, 2 styles of armrests as well. They had the short versions, which are in this video, or they had the torpedo versions, which were for the series 1s only. Again, I have done a separate video for those, so be sure to check that out. Then you obviously had the things there for the window winders and the door release. Again, it depends on the exact series whether they get trimmed out or not, which is exactly why they're pilot holes and not pre-cut. In terms of the material, we also do this big overlap on the top and front edge there, and that's done deliberately because when you come to fit it into the car, there's a slight overhang at the front normally, and that means that everything's tying in there. When the doors open, you can see the slight back of it there, and it means that you get a nice cohesive finish on it. But also it helps with the element of water when it runs down the window effectively, and also when you then open the window up, you can sometimes get water going onto the back of the panel. So it's best to get it to drip onto the back area section there, as opposed to into the actual grain of the top of the panel there. So that's a deliberate reason that we do that, and we've done it like that for years to good effect. So that's the main door panel, sold as a pair. Let's have a quick look at one fully trimmed up. As you can see, lovely job on those. We get the tension right, so you've got no bagginess as you push along, which again, a lot of people think that trimming a door panel is very straightforward. You can just lay the material down and glue or staple it round, but you need the correct tension on it. If you saw how we trim these when we initially anchor them, we anchor at one end and then the other end. The panel is really bent and warped. The amount of pressure that we're putting on it, or tension that we're putting on it, before we then tidy it all up and trim. So again, it's these little details. We see some not so great examples out there where you can just rub your hand along there and you're getting a constant sort of wave almost of material. So that's how they should be done. Now the optional extras for the doors. So they're supplied as standard as is. You then have optional extras for the inner door recess panel. So that's where the release mechanism is for the door. Now, series 1.5s and series 2s, they either had 28 centimeters as a basic measurement from there to there, or 25.5. Generally speaking, 25.5 is extremely rare. It's tended to be on the sort of series 1.5 cars, and then they extended it to 28, which is a much more common version there. So that's the measurement from there to there, roughly. So either 25.5 centimetres or 28 centimetres. Then you had these inner plastics. Now, a lot of companies out there sell you a universal one, which works both for the series 1.5 and series 2s, the two measurements it will incorporate there. We use those for years and they're okay, but actually they don't fit that well with the overall slot size on either of the door panels. So we've had some especially made, which I will focus on a bit. It's over there, and I have actually done a separate video, but we've got two different versions. So this is the 28 centimetre one, and then we've got the 25.5. So we make two different versions because we know that they fit better. So that's an optional extra. They were always black, they were always molded plastic. We can trim those up in vinyl or leather if you'd like, and again I've done a video showcasing that, so be sure to check that out. But they're optional extras, sold as a pair. You then have the door armrests, again optional extras sold outside the scope of the trim kit. The series 2s and series 3s in fact had this moulded plastic sort of stubby armrest. You get a pair of them, you also get the screws that come with them. Now they're fairly limited in colour spectrum. You can get black, red, biscuit, blue. I think that's it. Blue doesn't look too bad actually. It's a pretty decent match to the vinyl there. But as part of the trim kit, or if you wanted to buy them individually, we do these pre-sewn retrim kits with some top stitching on them. And you get those as standard in the trim kit to retrim your armrests, or for an optional fee we can supply them fully trimmed up, which I'll come to at the end there. So bear that in mind, because especially for certain cars, or sorry, certain interior colours where you can't get a decent match, covering them in the vinyl there or leather if you go for a full leather kit means that you are guaranteeing everything ties in. And a great example of that we'll get to is the hinge and locks over there, as you'll see. So that is an option. So that, like I say, the retrim kits for the actual door armrests are sold as part of the trim kit, or supplied as part of the trim kit. But if you wanted either replacement moulded plastics and or us to retrim these moulded plastics in the retrim kit, or if you sent us your original ones to do it, then we can do. So bear that in mind. So all of those elements are optional extras apart from literally the material covers, which are sold as part of the trim kit. As I mentioned, the door armrests, there you are. So that's the moulded one there, as you can see. For the series 1s, just so we're clear, there we are. Series 1s, they had this torpedo style armrest. Actually exactly the same as what they put in the later S-Types and Jaguar 420s. So bear that in mind. Again, I have done a video showcasing that, so be sure to check that out. Recessed panel you can see there, so that's where you put your fingers in to open the door up, and that's that piece there. So let's just get the page back to where I'll need it in a second. So that's the door armrest. The only other element of the door that we need to touch on is the door tops. As part of the trim kit, we supply pre-cut retrim kits. You get vinyl and foam padding, and therefore the cappings, which are effectively the top part of the door here. Now, optional extras, we can supply you brand new metalworks, or we can supply you brand new metalworks and trim them up for you, or you can send us your original ones and we can trim those up for you. Again, showcasing from this new tan smooth leather kit that we're doing for a gentleman. He sent us his original ones and we've trimmed them up for him, including the chrome and the Velcro, because he happened to supply them. So you can see those door top cappings there. They're effectively glued round, but there is a flap there deliberately. You can see the foam there as well. Flap there and a big loose flap of material, because then it tucks underneath the adjacent edge here and creates a nice seamless finish there. So we create enough material there to give you a decent amount to play with. So they're the kind of options on the door top cappings. Essentially material retrim kit to recover your original panels, or you can send us your original panels if you wanted them, we can trim them up for you, or we can replace your original panels, either just sent untrimmed and you can do the work at your end, or we can do the work and send them out fully complete. So bear that in mind. I think that covers the door panel area. Now let's move on to the inner sills. Inner sills, or inner rocker panels as I think the Americans call them, they're effectively the bit that you step over to get into the actual car itself. So this part here just below the door is the big step sill into the car. They are pre-cut pieces of vinyl, and you also get some foam padding underneath them. Now again, something, little touches that we go to as a business that we got our tremendous reputation globally for, is trying to guide and help people as easily as possible with the kits that we supply. So we do pre-cut slots there, which are obviously for the cross member and also for the seat mounting support, I guess, at the back. Makes logical sense. Not sure we're going to see anything that's highlighting the sills particularly, I'm afraid. No. But yeah, it'll be the almost certainly the cross member and then the seat mounting at the back there. So they're all pre-cut, which really does help you line things up. After that, they are oversized to allow you to tuck them onto the floor, and therefore underneath the felt and the carpets. So it does make the job a little bit easier. So a pair of sills included as standard in the trim kit. Right. Now we're kind of moving to the sort of middle of the car, just in line with where the seats are. Let's start with the cant rails. The cant rails are a 4-piece kit. You get a pair of these pieces and then a pair of the straight rectangles there. To tell you what the cant rails are, for those that might be unsure, let's have a look. Okay. The cant rails are the parts that kind of start, here we are. This is a 2-seater, but the concept's exactly the same. Start at the windscreen pillar sort of end. They go above the door, all the way around the side window and down here, and then the rectangle strip goes underneath that side window there. It's exactly the same concept on the 2+2. So that's the rectangle that goes down the side there, and then you can see the back of the cant rail there, which goes all the way around and above the doors there. So they are bits of material to retrim your current one. So a 4-piece kit, so a pair of those and 2 of the rectangles there for below the side window. Worth checking out. I have done a video showcasing various stages of retrimming those items there, so check that video out. Those pieces are included as standard in the trim kit. If you wanted us to trim those up and wanted to send us your cant rails, we can do that for you. Not a problem at all. Then you've got what we call the sort of B-post window strip, which is literally this panel here. It's a metal panel, and we supply, again, pre-cut vinyl to retrim that. Again, if you wanted us to trim that up, not a problem, send it over. But as standard, we supply the material as part of the trim kit. So that's that section there. Let me just work my way to the back here. If that was... There we go. Right, what have we got now? So that was the B-post strip there down the window. That's the other cant rail area. I've just kind of overlaid them because they kind of cross-section each other when trimmed in the car. Now let's talk about these sort of front side casing panels, or some people refer to them as the quarter panels, although they're quite small on the 2+2. And then the rear side casings as well. These are the panels that kind of bend into the rear luggage area. So 2 separate panels, and obviously both of them are a pair. First you have the front side casing. It's a millboard panel. If I just turn around and show you the reverse here. It's a millboard panel, again, cut on our in-house CNC machine. Has the pilot holes for the fixings. It also has, if I can just, it's got that little U cut out there, which we float over, which will align with this element here, which I'll explain shortly. They're trimmed all the way around, floated over that edge there. The back edge there is, actually, is that the back edge? Sorry, that's the front edge. It's not trimmed because, again, that will coordinate with how it gets trimmed into the car. You'll end up wrapping some of that round. So we deliberately do that so that it allows you to get a nice coherent and cohesive finish between them. So you'll end up wrapping it around and tucking it around underneath the adjacent elements there. And then they're piped on one edge there. And again, we're using level cloth piping for our piping where available, which is the majority of our colours. A lot of other companies out there use vinyl, which is sort of bulkier and can snag a lot easier. And if you look there, just how nicely you can bend that without any wrinkles showing up. Hard to get it to not blur out of focus, which is why I'm playing around with the camera. So again, just these little touches. Even the way we finish off the piping there, it's so neat on the ends there. A lot of people just end up chopping the piping, how you can see it on that raw end there on display there, but we don't. We go the extra mile. The panels have on the right hand, as you're sat in the car, they have that element there, which I believe is for the rear door release mechanism element of things. Yeah, we can just about make it out there. And then the little U cutaways that are behind there and floated over that I mentioned that intertwine with the rear side casings there, that is for the seatbelt mounts there. So the bracket kind of, they kiss into both of them effectively. So that's that section there. So you get a pair of those. They are included as standard in the trim kit, or sold separately if you prefer. Then we got the rear side casings there, which again are sold as a pair. Again, they're millboard, cut on our in-house CNC machine, trimmed all the way around apart from the same sort of edges, which I'll go over in a second. And then it's got elements of piping around the sort of main outside area of it, down this edge here, down that edge there. It jumps a beat there and doesn't do anything around there. So that's effectively the side window section here. So we're talking, whereas that was the front side panel there, you can see this is the rear side casing here and goes up round, and then it'll bend round into the luggage area. Let's see. Sure we had a good, yeah, I mean it's even coming down there, you can see just about. Perfect. Again, this is a two-seater, but the concept's exactly the same. So the rear side casing is coming around here and up there effectively. Don't think we've got any better ones. Click. Oh yeah, no, it's okay. It's a series 3, but the concept's exactly the same. So that's the side casing there. You can see the hinge lock covers for the those bits there for the rear door section there. So it bends all the way around there. Made in millboard, so it does have a nice bend curvature to it. They're a bit of an awkward one to fit, especially as you get around that tight section there. You just need to make sure that you're fixing it in the right area and putting the right amount of pressure on it so that it tucks into the car effectively, as opposed to naturally through physics wanting to pop out a little bit. But we've used the same templates and whatnot for years. We know they work. You just have to play with them to get them to work nicely. Yeah, so obviously the pre-fixing holes on the back for the fixings, these bits here for the seat belts, these little cutouts here are obviously for the rear door hinge elements of things, which we'll come to in a second with the covers effectively on those. Again, we deliberately leave tails on these so that it can intertwine with that one, so they'll end up butting up, and that's exactly where the seatbelt mounting goes. So all of that element there in terms of tails on certain pieces of excess material are all done by design to allow you to get the neatest finish at your end. It's the sort of tricks that we've learnt over the last almost 50 years of making the same kits and supplying some of the leading Jaguar restorers in the world, of little tricks and tips that we can give people to effectively allow them to overcome, should we say, individual idiosyncrasies of cars of that manufacturing era. So just bear that in mind. Right, now we've got the actual wheel arch covers. Now the majority of the 2+2s had this version here, and then the sort of late series 3s had a kind of two-piece version, which again I've done a video on, but the majority are exactly like this. So they're pre-sewn vinyl. They have foam, a two-piece foam piece underneath it, with piping on them. The little triangles represent right hand. We strip out the piping after that point there, so it gives you something to pull on and tuck round, but it means that you're effectively able to just lose the piping when you're pulling it round, but it's a good thing to have to sort of be able to yank and pull on. So you get a pair of those included as standard in the trim kit, along with the padding foams, and they also come with material to retrim the little wooden panel for the inspection plates in the back of the car. You can just about make one out there. See if we've got any better. Oh yeah, again 2-seater, but the concept's exactly the same. It's that inspection panel there in the back, so that's material to recover those. They're included as standard there. Now I guess almost lastly, before I get onto the optional extras, you've got the hinge and lock in the luggage area of the car. So these are actually standardized between the 2-seater and the 4-seater cars, but effectively on the rear door you had this side here had the lock mechanism on, and then on that side you had the 2-piece there we go, perfect. So that's a lock mechanism on the right hand if you're facing forward, and then you had the 2 hinge elements there, and they were molded plastic, coloured molded plastic to tie in with your main trim. So as standard in the trim kit, you get pre-sewn retrim kit, which I'll just show you. So for the lock cover on the right side, it's a 2-piece kit there. It's all sold as a kit together as a hinge and lock, so effectively for the 3 pieces total you get these sewn pieces. So you get a 2-piece element here for the lock cover on that side, and then you get identical sewn pieces with top stitching on them for the 2 hinges on the left side as you look in. So the retrim kits, these bits here, effectively pre-sewn ones, are supplied as standard in the trim kit, or supplied separately if you prefer. In addition to that, we can supply moulded plastic units. They are only available in a few colours, black, red, biscuit, blue, and I think green as well. See our website for more details, as they're all listed on there. But for a lot of other colours, you haven't got an option on there. So obviously if you've got your originals, great. But then comes the argument that I was putting forward with the door armrests. Now the door armrests are a half decent colour match to the doors, whereas you can see here, nowhere near, which is a shame. So unless you've got original ones that do tie in, obviously our vinyl's the more in line with the correct original colour. It's not sure what's going on with those moulded ones. You'll want to retrim them. So obviously if you've got aftermarket ones or original ones and you want to use our covers to retrim them, then you can do, just let us know, and obviously we'll just supply those and we can give you a few tips on how to trim them, but they are tricky. Alternatively, we can supply moulded plastic ones. Now again, depending on the colour you've gone for, that moulded plastic might tie in absolutely fine with the rest of your trim. Job done, not a problem at all. Or you might want us to supply you with the moulded plastic units and then trim them up, which is what we've done here for these red versions here. So we've used, you can see the shade of red underneath there. It's not too far off, but the chap wanted it to tie in exactly, and he liked the sort of top stitching element to it. So we have fully trimmed those up using aftermarket plastics on both sides. As you can see, really nice job. I love these top stitchings. They get the sort of chrome finishes on the end of them as well. Again, I've done a separate video showcasing these elements of things, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, they're kind of your options. So as standard, the retrim covers are supplied as part of the trim kit or separately if you'd like. Above and beyond that, we can supply you moulded plastics. Colour range is limited, or we can trim up either your original ones if you wanted us to send them to us and we can do that for you, or aftermarket ones retrimmed with our materials there. So they're kind of the optional extra upgrades that you can go for the hinge and locks. So that pretty much covers everything I was going to talk about, apart from a few optional extra bits and bobs here, which I've kind of covered already, but wanted to go into a bit more detail. So door top cappings, I mentioned a lot over there. This is the other hand here. So this is the original one that customer sent us, which we've basically cleaned up, but he didn't want too much work doing on it. We kind of worked to a system on that you let us know how far you want us to go with it, and some people, they're absolutely fine with using sort of old mucky ones, as long as the general consistency and whatnot is suitable for reuse, etc. Other people like us to strip everything back, repaint them, etc. So we can do whatever you want if you send us your original ones. And again, it's what level. Send us your chrome, send us your Velcro. It's completely up to you how far we go. As standard for a lot of people, sorry, as standard's a terrible word to use. For a lot of people, when they're getting replacement metalworks, we literally just get the metalwork, we get the material and trim them round. We don't do anything related to the chromes or the Velcro. That can all be done at your end fairly easily. So it depends how far you want to go with it. So talk to me directly about that. So there are your door tops. Door armrests, obviously, I've shown you the retrim kit there, and I've shown you the moulded plastics here. But here's an example of some fully trimmed up. Again, it's coming from this tan kit, which we have done in smooth leather, and it's top stitched around the perimeter there and trimmed round on the back there. You can see we've used these are aftermarket ones, biscuit, because you haven't got a tan colour effectively in the aftermarket, so we've done some biscuit ones and retrimmed them over. So that's again an optional extra that we can offer there, as described earlier. Been over the hinge and locks. Last item really to touch on again is just the door recess panels. So they're the commonly seen 28cm versions. If I just grab one. There we go. There we go. I've already brought one. So that's the other hand of the 28. Yep, perfect. And these are the 25. So you can see the size difference in them there. So worth checking out. I have done other videos showing these because, like I say, a lot of other companies out there, in fact the majority of the other companies out there, they all use this universal one, which don't get me wrong, we used them for years and they worked okay, but we had enough people kicking up a fuss about it that we figured we might as well go the hog and tool up accordingly. So that's what we've done on those on there, and they fit a lot better, as you'll see in the other videos. And again, there's a nice optional touch. If you wanted, we can trim those up in either vinyl or leather, depending on what you want to do with those. And it's worth checking out my other videos showcasing that, as well as a video showing my Series 3 Roadster, where we've trimmed those up in leather. They look really nice, although the Series 3 ones are a completely different shape. Right, I think I've covered my basis. Apologies, I seem to have rambled on there for 32 minutes. Thanks for staying tuned if you have done. Please remember to check out the other videos at the end of this one, including the follow-up videos to this particular set, where I'm going to be going over some of the rear luggage areas to show you other parts of the car that you'll probably want to consider getting at the same time doing a restoration. That being said, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts out there, and be sure to tune in next time.